Welcome back to the Bernard Lee Poker Show. We are continuing our interviews back to the 2021 WSOP. We've obviously started off the 2022 year with the WSOP Player of the Year, Josh Aryeh, with our two-part interview. Hope you enjoyed that. Last year, we ended the year with Karai Aldemir, the champion of the WSOP main event, but we're continuing more and more interviews with players that won major events. And this event has been one of the favorites for the players over the years, just due to its name. Everyone wants to be a millionaire. Everyone wants to have that massive seven-figure score. And this gentleman can live to tell the tale. He is the 2021 WSOP Millionaire Maker Champion, but he is also part of that group in 2021 that set the record for the most winners, multiple winners in the same year. Since 2000, we have had a champion who has won 2 bracelets in the same year, all the way back to 2000. But this year set the record for the most, not only online, live, but there were multiple players that won one online and also won one live. And our guest this week did just that. Won a high roller online and then won the Millionaire Maker live. So congratulations and welcome to the show, Danny Lazrus. Danny, thanks for joining us here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show.
Thanks, Bernard. Appreciate you having me. It's a crazy stat. I didn't even realize when you mentioned that before. It's how many people won with the fields getting so much harder. But I'm just happy to be here. It's been a good 2021 was great. And looking forward.
Yeah,
to 2022.
Not only 2 bracelets, but you get the Millionaire one. I mean, that's the one that if you're going to play, a kind of a mid-stakes 1,500 event, there's the one that you want to win, because usually the largest winning check that you're going to get. Second place was $500,000. Numerous players, obviously, in this event itself. But you also won the 3,200 No Limit High Roller online as well in July. Before we get to all of that, though, I would love to understand kind of your background in the world of poker because, we talk with a lot of players. They've grinded for 10 years. They've grinded, since the moneymaker days, et cetera, et cetera. But you really haven't done that. You really haven't played for many years. You're 31 years old. Even if you're playing since, you're 21, it's only been 10 years, but you really haven't done that for many years, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I kind of started really late. I mean, I was introduced poker young. I actually went to a sleepaway camp and used to play Hold'em in the cubby room, but I wasn't very good. But around like 4 years ago or so, I was just kind of looking for something new to learn that required skill and you can kind of like learn game theory to get better at. And I was between chess, poker, and I messed around poker a little bit, got really interested in the game, kind of just dove, head first. And now 4 years later, I did accomplish some things I never thought were possible. So it's been a short but fun ride.
You said you've pretty much been focusing on it for the last 4 years. What were you doing prior to that? Were you working full time? What were you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually working full time up until just a couple months ago, pretty much. Actually, the week before I went to Vegas. The first tournament I went was the Millionaire Maker. I went there to play that specifically. I was just transitioning. I have a family business. Me and my brother. My parents were involved. They're retired now. So I've been doing that full time up until that point. Obviously, the Millionaire Maker win helped kind of expedite that process a little bit, but. Yeah, I was working full time and I just kind of was doing a ton of poker, studying, playing in the after hours and on the weekends and working, 11-hour days running a business. So yeah, from 20 after college till about 27, that was like my main focus. And then over the last 4 years, the business was like mainly a priority. But I love playing poker so much and learning the game that I was able to kind of balance and not get burnt out working all day and playing and learning all night. So it's just kind of been, 4 years of 12-hour work days, 6 hours or 8 hours in the evenings playing kind of, and now finally I've been relaxing a little bit for the last couple months.
Do you plan on still doing the family business? Being that it's a family business, obviously, I would assume that there's a little bit more leniency if needed, or will you do it like kind of part-time or help out?
I mean, I still have, I'm here to help if they need, but it wasn't totally fair to my brother with my head not being fully in it. Poker, just like as the years went on and I saw more and more success, poker was really all I cared about. So it's all I wanted to do, talk about, so forth. I started working on some other projects that, personal, businesses outside of that business that I enjoy doing. So I think I'm kind of just leaving it to my brother now, and I'm just going to kind of pursue this new full-time poker career.
So with regards to poker, you said you really like the game theory aspect. Were you always into kind of games and strategy games growing up?
Not so much. I was I'm known for going through phases of almost like an obsession. Like I like anything I learn, I want to become absolutely the best at. Whether it was video games or, if I was going to play chess, it wasn't just playing chess with my friends for fun. It was, I needed to learn the best strategies, and I would go too far until I got bored and move on. So poker was just like a natural fit of it. Even at this point in my career and studying, hours and hours every single week for the last, 2.5 years that I started taking it more serious, I still am so far from learning. I feel like I know nothing still. So it's hard to get bored of because you're always trying to get better. So it's a natural fit and a great focus of mine to kind of fill that obsession of needing to learn something.
Well, once you, and also the other thing is once you start learning it, once you get it, then the game changes again with the other new hot topic out there or the new strategy or whatever. And then you try to do that and they're combating that already. So it's definitely one of those things that you can always nonstop learning. You can never master it. And, eventually as you get older and older, you're going to start, as many poker players do, you're going to move over to golf because it's going to be the same damn thing. You can just.
I went through my golf obsession phase. That was like 22 to 26.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, with poker, the game's always changing, and that's the other thing that I'm just a competitive person naturally, and I love the idea that in the simplest form, as long as you work a little bit harder than everyone else, you should be able to stay ahead of the curve, and that kind of just drives my passion, my mentality for just knowing that if I'm not doing something to get better this week, that I'm going to start falling behind, and it just kind of keeps me motivated to keep learning.
So you're based out of New York, Long Island specifically. Did you do most of your learning and improving online? Obviously, New Jersey's literally right across the bridge, so you can play legally there in the U.S. Is that where you've been working primarily for the last 4 years?
Yeah, it's all been in New York, mostly up until WSOP had the World Series in 2020. I never actually went to play. That was the first time playing on the site. Was a World Series event on WSOP.com. So otherwise, it was all unregulated, the normal American sites. But lots and lots of games on there and tournaments for the last 4 years. And it was after I met Ryan Depaulo it was actually right before his Colossus run back in 2019. Is when I started really taking the game more serious and started studying a lot more and just picking up the volume. And then because of that opened the door to play some more live events, and COVID happened, so then the WSOP online and the main event online in 2020 and kind of parlayed into 2021.
Right. And Depaulo won that the famous Whole Foods parking lot thing in 2020. Obviously, the COVID scenario right there. We had, for those of you who know about that and want to hear about that, we have our interview with Ryan, of course, on our podcast list. So go back and watch that and listen to that. But talk a little bit about that with regards to Ryan Depaulo. He is definitely someone who really kind of came into his own. Everyone knows he does a lot of vlogging on YouTube, but his breakthrough win at the 2020 WSOP that was online, as for those of you who don't know, I'm not joking, he really did play in a Whole Foods parking lot and won his bracelet. And then really kind of has broken out from there, with his vlogging, et cetera. How did you kind of meet up with him, and what influence has he had on your career?
So in 2019, I had taken a trip to Vegas during WSOP, and I played maybe one WSOP event, which was my first one ever, was in 2019. The second being the Millionaire Maker that I played this year as a live event for WSOP. But I was there in 2019, and I was at the Wynn watching a friend of mine who was deep in a PLO tournament, and Ryan happened to be having a home game, and I was a fan of his vlogs. Like I was like coming up, kind of learning, teaching myself poker. I looked to YouTube for a lot of that, and naturally fell into the different vloggers out there that as just another way to kind of fulfill that poker want from just any way possible. And so I saw him there, sat down, started playing the game, his home game, while waiting for my friend to finish the tournament. And because he lives at that time in New York City, he was close by. We started talking, became friends, exchanged numbers, and then from there, we just started talking a ton. Became really good friends over the next several months. So it kind of was all about poker at first, and then the COVID happened, WSOP online happened, and I was then going to Jersey to his house to be able to play, or he would meet me at we would get like an Airbnb with a bunch of guys just to be able to play the series. And just since then, over time, we've just kind of gotten closer and closer. He's the one that kind of introduced me to the people that I've been learning from the last 2 years. And yeah, that's just kind of, now I consider him one of my best friends. We talk almost every day, whether it's poker or not. You
made his vlog this summer, right?
Yeah. I was at his house when I won. Yep, exactly. Yep. Right. Yeah.
So, Ryan obviously has improved his game, and he has talked to it. What do you feel like are a couple of the things that dramatically helped improve your game? Because listen, you can play the game, right? There are a lot of people who play the game. A lot of my listeners play the game, and their dream is, of course, not only just to go to the World Series, but to have this kind of breakout win. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't put the time and effort like you are. And I hope that people who are listening really understand this isn't just sit there and play. And I understand aces beat kings. It doesn't work that way. They say, oh, well, you got to get lucky. I don't 100% agree with that statement. Yes, there may be some luck involved where, it'll help you along the way, but skill is going to give you a better opportunity when luck happens. That's the way I always look at it. If you are more skillful, you have more of an opportunity and more of a chance not to get eliminated. And then if luck happens, that will actually propel you to that next stage. And sometimes you don't need that luck. Sometimes just that skill will be enough. But that's what I believe in. And listening to what you're saying, you're one of those people that just over time, I have done this for almost 15 years. Everyone you interview, I've never heard somebody who has really been successful say, yeah, I just got completely lucky. I played this game for a month and I can't believe I won. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. Do you hear those stories? Of course, but it just doesn't work that way. So would love to know and let my listeners understand, what are those 2 or 3 things that you feel like you learned from either Ryan or the group of guys that you look back now and say, boy, was I a donk before? There's an article, there used to be a column in Card Player, there's a when I was a donk, right? And then you basically say, God, I can't believe I used to do this kind of thing. So, what are 2 or 3 of those things that you helped utilize during that Millionaire Maker run?
Yeah, the the first biggest thing for me when I think back to like when I started really improving outside of as far as I could take myself, was there's actually a Facebook group. It was I think Johnny Vibes had started it, the vlogger, and it was just a way to discuss hands. And through that, you would post a hand, people would comment on it. I mean, most meaningful, you couldn't necessarily be confident in whether they were right, but you kind of can come to a clearer decision over who you might want to associate with when it comes to playing better. And through that, started talking with a few different guys, one person particularly at that time, and being able to send hands to him, get his opinion. He'd send some to me, back and forth, get some outside opinions. So it was obviously talking hands at first was like that first breakthrough into just looking at the game differently in right. So many different ways. Other than that, I mean, I personally believe, and I agree with everything you were saying, and I get asked this all the time. I hate when people call poker gambling, because I don't feel it's gambling. I feel that if it was gambling, then I wouldn't feel like I'm going to always win long term, and I do feel that way currently, at least. And in a vacuum, obviously, every tournament, every spot, there's luck involved. But overall, when you kind of zoom out, looking at a career, the players that work the hardest, and I know some of them that still work harder than everyone else. They're the ones always at the top of the leaderboards, winning the tournaments. But yeah, so I think the best way now to get better and to stay ahead of the curve is just studying solvers, whether it's running Munker sims for multi-way spots or pre-flop spots, or PioSolver for heads up spots. But just kind of studying and trying to find like you almost like break the hand down, trying to find different patterns or reasons why it's doing things. You start seeing that every spot is different, how tough the game is, but you can kind of find some similarities or kind of patterns to utilize when you play. And that's really where I saw me going from, a solid tournament winning player that to really elevating to some results that I've seen over the last 12 months or so.
So a couple things I want to expand on that for my listeners. So first, a lot of people talk about the PioSolver, right? That's a big thing. So I have gotten a lot of questions online with regards to on Twitter and email and all that, asking about it, because it's not the most intuitive thing in the world to kind of like figure out, right? And so I've talked with people and it kind of helps you. But how did you kind of get involved with PioSolver in the sense of that you're very comfortable with it, right? I mean, you have to purchase it and et cetera, and it's not always readily available on Mac, et cetera. So just kind of like, how would you go about that for somebody out there who's like, I really want to get serious, but I don't know how to utilize that. And I don't have Johnny Vibes or Ryan Depaulo that I can just call and say, hey, how do I do this kind of thing?
Yeah. So I actually make jokes with my friends all the time. Someone that wants to make a career of poker, we're kind of thankful to a degree that Pio is a little complicated. Like it takes a little bit of extra dedication to just learn how to use it. Right. So that can kind of keep the curve of the people that improve that way. But in general, there's definitely videos out there to watch. You're going to always get the best knowledge of using Pio, or even more complicated a program like Munker, by just kind of doing with someone else that knows what they're doing. I remember running sims, kind of guessing how to make it all work out, and it wasn't until someone finally was like, "Let me show you what you're doing wrong," that I really said, "Oh, okay." And then, I mean, once you get into that world and you start then locking different spots and different scenarios, making different assumptions, you can. I mean, every single time I use a program like that or run a sim, I feel like I learned something new, even whether it's about poker or just the program itself and more things that it can do. But it's a complicated program. You're going to have to kind of really take the time, and it's tedious at times. It takes time to run a sim, and then you realize after running it that you made a mistake and have to redo it. It's tough, but it's worth every ounce you put into it.
And correct to say, am I right in this, is that it's not available on Mac? It's only for Windows?
I believe so. So you need to have a computer that can handle the load of simulations that are being ran. So you need a good processor that is able to handle the amount of cores, I believe it's called, or threads that are going on while running the sim. And the better your processor is, the quicker it will run the sims. And then you need to have, like, a laptop in general is going to be really, really difficult to use because you need a certain amount of available RAM, memory space, just to run a complex sim, or even most simple sims. The average laptops, I doubt can handle. So yeah, right. I actually built 2 computers over the years that I use when I'm running a simulation. And yeah, one was good enough, and then I was like, you know what, I want something even better. But at first, you try to do it on a regular computer, you're gonna bang your head against the wall. It's like playing a high-tech video game with an old laptop. Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to touch base with regards to kind of like going back a little bit of talking about when you had that Facebook thread, et cetera, it sounds like, I just want to make sure that my listeners understand, is that it sounds like there's a couple things. One, when you bounce questions off and you hear people talking about their thought process, there's 2 things. One, it's always good to have people who you feel are better than you. I always tell people, you don't need to be in a group where you're the best player. That's actually probably the worst thing you could do, because everyone's just going to yes you to death. Like, you want to be in a group where you're like, I have no idea what he's talking about, because you want to learn. That's just the first thing. The second thing is that you also allow yourself to have people who have a different thought process than you. The one example, I say this a lot, is that I'm a very tight, aggressive player, the standard old school way. And when I talk hands with somebody who's very aggressive, who is just uber aggressive when they have the chance, I'm like, I would never do that. And some people shy away from that. Oh, I don't want to talk to them because I don't understand their logic. I actually like it, because I don't need to hear the same thing I do. Well, sure. So one player plays exactly the same way I do, and we just agree on everything. So what? That doesn't freaking help you. I want to understand why they're doing that. And there's 2 reasons, at least for mine. I'd like to see if you agree with that. Is one, I get to learn how they're doing it so that I can maybe incorporate it into my game. And then 2, if a player who is uber aggressive is at my table and they're doing it, I get to know what's inside their head. So now I can either play back at them or figure out why they're doing that. And I love, every once in a while, I'll throw a line out to them and say something, and they're like, oh crap, he knows that I'm doing this, kind of thing. And so I don't know, is that kind of why that was so important for you to be part of these groups?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I just wanted to learn, and I knew that I could learn from several types of levels of player, because I knew I was at the bottom of the rung. But now having groups or a group of friends to study with is exactly what you were saying. There's obviously an advantage to kind of getting their perspective, just so you can then see if there's ways to apply it and if it makes sense. But the bigger thing is, there's no better pop study or understanding what the population is doing than talking to the population of players. Right. And so you start hearing why they're doing something, or their thought process, and you start, whether you agree with it or not, it'll be helpful in the future for sure. But yeah, the biggest thing I say to people that I ask is, never talk about results. It's irrelevant how the hand ends up. It's just about how you play it. And the other thing is, if you think that you know the game well enough and you're not doing anything to improve, you're definitely getting wrecked. And right. Like, you're so, if you think you know everything about poker, you literally probably know less than 99% of the people. Right. The best players in the world to this day, some of them that I've spoken, or some people in particular, they're the ones that are always so humble and modest and saying how little they know. And I know 1/100th of what they know. So it's the game's hard, and if you want to get good, you got to keep putting in the work. It's just that simple.
Like they say with sports, right? If you're not working, somebody else is, right? And then, if you're out there on Sunday at 11 p.m. practicing, at the very least, you're getting a step ahead of everyone else, because everyone else isn't there working at that time. So you're getting better. But if you're doing nothing, someone else is getting better than you.
Yeah, and even a big difference with poker and sports in general is, in sports, there are actually people that are lazy but are so naturally gifted athletes that they will still perform to a degree. But in poker, that's not a thing. Like if you're not understanding different like ICM scenarios, like, even on that, I've studied ICM sufficient amount, in my opinion, leading up to that Millionaire Maker, and I made ample mistakes on that final table. Like, and if you're just trying to naturally, you think you have good reads on people, I mean, you're gonna very quickly realize that that is not going to carry you consistently to being a winning player. This is really like it's more than just kind of naturally having a good feel for the game at this point, and it's only getting harder every day that goes by now. It's for sure.
You talked a lot about the tournament. Do you play cash as well, or do you focus primarily on tournaments?
99% of my focus is on tournaments. I play cash because sometimes it's the only thing that's available live or something. I'll go to local games and stuff. But yeah, in general, I think I'm most fascinated by tournaments. Cash kind of bores me sitting around for too long.
Right. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk with Danny about his big breakout win in the Millionaire Maker 2021 when we return here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show.